Hello, and welcome to another edition of the For the Love of Creatives podcast. I am your host, Dwight, joined by Maddox. And today, our featured guest is the lovely Brandy Jones. Welcome, Brandy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We're so glad that you could join us here. And I've gotten a chance to see some of your work. I believe I saw you featured at the Pencil and Paper Gallery a while back. Did you
Yes,
share
I
there?
was. Yeah,
Excellent.
absolutely.
And I know that we've had a chance to talk a few times before, but how about you give just a little introduction to our listeners to let them know who you are and what you're about?
Hi, everyone. I am Brandy Jones, founder of Rock and Yarn Artistry. That is filled within its own collaborative of yarn, gemstone to bring one rugged but soft edge to artwork. Yeah,
Mhm. I love that. I love
Yeah.
anything that sparkles.
I do too. The creation of it all.
Well, and that is definitely something that is unique because I've seen some of your work. There's definitely images, and there's kind of a, a textured aspect that makes it a little more warm than something that you would see that's normally in a frame hanging in a gallery. How did you come by uh, creating these works?
My process started from building and creating blankets. I created sports blankets, home blankets, couch blankets, blankets on your bed, more like a quilting, but it's just more of a crocheting. But I started doing blankets after COVID hit, and that was because I wanted to give my sisters something to hold on in memory of my mother. And started from there. Loved the idea of, well, using them as uh, I guess pig on the blanket, guinea pigs.
Guinea pigs on the blanket.
I love it.
So, and they loved them. They, even though they was kind of like mixed up a little bit, different color, they loved them. But just pig on the blankets, I used them as guinea pigs, and I went from there. I had a love of warmth. It was comforting, takes your mind off of daily things, and yeah, I sent it to them, and they loved it. So start from there.
So you started off, I guess quilting would fit more in a crafting genre than it would an art genre.
Yeah.
And then what was it that created that subtle shift to change from crafting to art? Things that people didn't wrap around them, but viewed and got all of the warmth from the beauty.
Well, that warmth and softness come from what I saw while I was doing the blankets. I saw the comfort. I saw the passion that people felt when they bought my blankets, the excitement of one person doing it handcrafted. And so from there, I was like, what else can I do? Because I'm always looking for how to think outside the box, bringing something other than just what it is, this ISF, just because of the imagination of it all. So I went into the store and got some more blankets. Well, I was looking for more yarn, different, unique, different style yarn. And I saw some gems, I saw rocks, and I was like, colorful rocks. And so I was like, okay, I wonder how that would look if I did a picture on the blanket. And it just kind of exploded from there, just, I don't know, it was just something that said create, and it just drew my ideas from there.
It was just an evolution, wasn't it?
I believe so. I think so. And
Well,
it continues to grow. It continues to grow from there.
And you have recently shown in pencil and paper, and that's a pretty cool gallery. I mean, that's quite a progression to go from making blankets for family to hanging on the walls in a prestigious gallery. What's the time frame from when you started creating blankets to now?
It would let me see, about a year and a half, almost two, 2 years time frame of perfecting what I say is not always perfect, but just perfecting a skill set that was basically forced into, So you start from there and just grow. And that's a good thing because now I have expanded into the arts of hotel viewing. So now I'm in the Canvas Hotel with my artwork. Yeah.
Wow. Brandy, your progression has happened really fast.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about how you got in those fabulous places. What did you do to find yourself hanging in a lovely hotel or in a quality gallery?
Yeah. Well, nothing comes easy. It takes hard work, dedication, and just believing in yourself, believing in your work. I think that knowing your capability, knowing your skills, knowing that someone's no is someone else's yes, and just keep pushing yourself. So I just called around to different hotels, different schools, different churches to see if they have any events. And just kind of went from there. Like I said, someone might say, "Hey, we're not doing it right now. We don't have any events coming." Just keep calling and
I
call
love
back.
it.
Like, do you have something else?
I love it. It reminds me of something that I say a lot, and that is if you don't ask, then the answer is already no.
Absolutely.
So
You've already given
Brandy,
up. You've
where did
already
that
given
s-
up.
where did that sense of determination and persistence come from? Is that something that you were raised with as a child, or is that something you've had to develop along the way?
Definitely raised up as a child. My mother and father, we have 15 sisters and brothers, and my father has always been, when he didn't go to high school, didn't go to junior high, when he dropped out of school in junior high, and basically just became self-taught. And I learned that from my parents. My father, he would just teach us like, if you don't have anything that we didn't have the money to go get some of the things, so you had to substitute. And you just build off of that. We built goat cars and everything with just wood, tree limbs. So yeah, old lawnmowers. So just that seeing that effort, not giving up. My dad would always say, stop using the word can't. Did you try it? If you hadn't tried, how you would know you can't do it? So
You're
yeah.
kind of touching my heart a little bit because that was
Mm,
very similar to my growing up. Didn't have that many siblings, but my dad would make things out of nothing for me. I had
yep.
toys that were handmade out of just whatever scraps were laying around. And, um, I look back, I don't know that I thought it was cool when it was happening. And I don't
Hmm.
think I had the appreciation that I do now, but I look back now and think, that was modeled to me in a way that made me really appreciate creativity in itself.
Yep.
How as a kid I could take a bath towel and put a clip or my neck and have Superman cape, or I could
Yeah.
take an old ivory liquid bottle and fill it with water, and I had a squirt gun. And you're right, we did what we had to do with what we had on hand, and I look back on that with so much appreciation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really touches home when you say you just made things out of what was. That's true
Yeah.
creativity. When you can spin something out of nothing, that's real creativity.
Absolutely. And talk about giving. Like I said, I mentioned we had 15 sisters and brothers and same mother and father. So to see one day, a backstory where my sister asked us to create letters for my father to honor my father and my mother, just it was their anniversary. And we all were supposed to write letters and what was you appreciative of. And we all stood up and said our letter to my parents. And my sister stood up and in her letter, she sat at the table when we was on dinner one day and my dad was taking off his shoe and she just happened to look at the bottom of his shoe was a hole in it. And my sister was like, Dad, why are you wear your shoes with a hole in it? He's like, I'd rather go with some shoes with a hole in it than my children's to go without. And that
Oh,
said a lot. So for someone to take care of kids like that and not look at what they've gone through, but just continue to give, we can't, I mean, come on. You got to keep pushing. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
wow.
What
And
a
it was not a
beautiful
dry eye in that room.
foundation.
Oh, I bet not.
I bet
Yeah.
not. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You really received some rare gifts as a child. I mean, we've had lots of conversations and we haven't had very many conversations where the the other person talked about the great gifts that they received
Yeah.
as children. It's not usually that way. What an amazing story.
Yeah.
Are your
It's
parents still
very touching.
alive?
Yeah. Neither one of my mother passed in 2011 and my dad 2013. So yeah, we just took, I look at it as well polished parents because they taught us so much of giving and yeah, very touching. You know,
Well,
you
it
learn a
sounds
lot.
to me like they taught you core values, which is something that really has faded into black. We just don't have much of that going on in our
Hmm.
world anymore. I mean, I ask people from time to time, so tell me what your core values are, and they look at me like I have three heads. Like core
Yeah.
values? What's that?
Yeah.
And how do you really operate a meaningful life without core values?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to go back and look at all the things that you are appreciative of because, when you're young, we're just living. Everything is easy. We don't take a moment to look at how our art really become. Because if you think about it, the things that we look at and say, oh, we can just have that. We can just spend money to pay for that. Back then, when my mother and my father had things, it was just putting things together to make it work. That's art.
Mhm.
If you go
Mhm.
back and look at it, that's art. Even the meals, if you don't have a lot of funds and take care of all those kids, you're putting a meal together. That's art. And at the end of the day, what comes out of it? Love. Because it was given to you out of something that didn't have.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
You have a very unique perspective and a very healthy perspective and a very inspiring perspective.
Thank
Wow. You
thank
Well,
know, we never know until we get into these conversations.
you. Hmm.
yeah. Out of out of coming from that huge home full of love, I know that it took quite a journey to get you to where you went before you made this big splash in the art world. Um, how do you, looking back, how do you see that through line of who you became coming from that home with the 15 siblings and your parents and making those stops along the way?
This is it's a roller coaster ride. Nothing's life is guaranteed, but every risk you take is worthwhile. And that roller coaster ride, every stop that comes down, there's a lesson in it.
Yeah.
We don't know what that lesson is, but we take those stops to learn something along the way. And those stops could be a career that you get into that you didn't like, but there's some type of art within it. And so everything that I'm learning, in this journey that is becoming into who I am today is something that has happened or transpired in my past, and you just learn from it. They say you can test a man by him falling down, but his true honor is how he get up.
Mm.
And you get up.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
get up.
And you're really touching here on a big part of what our whole concept is, and that's the becoming part. And that's another thing that makes people kind of look at you like, huh?
Mm.
That three-head thing, when you say, who did like where you are right now, the level of um, success that you have gained, accomplishments that you've been able to achieve. And one of the questions we love to ask is, so who, looking back now, it's harder to look forward. And it's not, and that's a process. You can't do that right here in a question. We've discovered that from asking the question. So we're looking at now from more the past, but
Mhm.
looking back on that journey, who did you have to become along the way? That inside thing, not what did you have to do, who did you have to become in here to get you where you are today? Can you articulate that?
Who do I had to become?
Yeah.
I would think my mother. I'm serious because what a magnificent woman. I mean, to bear. It would have been 18 children, but to bear 15. And to you know how many character is coming in that house? And she had to be sane enough to deal with all of us, not alone a husband.
Yeah, yeah, she
But
really
the
had
strength,
16.
yeah, you're really 16. But the strength of a woman and the strength of someone who know you don't always just say know yourself, but you can know that there's something that you can get out of it. If you keep going. And there's something that you know you will learn, something that you will learn about yourself if you keep pushing. So just the strength of that woman pushes me to be who I am today.
So you're describing determination,
Yeah.
persistence.
Yes.
Is there
Resilience.
courage rolled in there
Yeah.
somewhere?
Yeah. Courage. Yeah. Keep pushing. Yeah.
Bravery. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Honor. Because it takes
Mm.
that too. You gotta trust yourself and honor, you gotta believe in yourself. Yeah.
Now, looking back, did you know in the early years that you needed to consciously focus on becoming those things? Or is it now looking back, you see that you did that kind of unconsciously?
Yes. Looking back, yeah, that's a scary scene when you look back. But you learned a lot, and I think that helped mold who I am today. Not being afraid of mistakes, errors. That's part of growth. That's development. That's discovery. You're discovering some new things about yourself. You're going to continue to discover new things about yourself. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Reflect on all those moments. Good and bad. You reflect on all those.
We believe this becoming conversation is a vital part of our life as a creative. And our conversation is about taking it out of the unconscious and bringing it into the conscious and intentional. Because now, we won't ask this question today for you to answer, but we'll ask it for you to think about as you move beyond our conversation today. And that is, what got you here won't get you there. That
Hmm.
next stage, that next step, who do you have to become now to get there? And like I said, that's a
Hmm.
process. So we don't ask it as a question anymore, other than
Absolutely. A
just
thought.
something for you to reflect on and ponder about as you move forward. It's kind of
Yeah.
not that we're ready to part right now, but it's a parting
Yeah.
gift that we are doing in our episodes because it just starts something that has, if you follow the trail, has a beautiful ending.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it has many layers, and it's a well that you can keep drawing from.
I really
Absolutely.
do believe that we get to choose who we are and we get to choose how we show up in life. There's a lot of
Absolutely.
things that we don't get to choose, but those two things we get to choose. And those two things influence everything that we experience.
Hmm.
Yeah.
The new ideas, the material that you use for those ideas,
Mhm.
all makes you. You don't just sometimes just go out and pick out something to create something. That's a reason why you pick that, whether it's the color, the shape of it, the object itself. It's those things that create art.
That those things are very connected to our thoughts, our feelings,
Hmm.
all of that.
What emotion came out of it when you thought of it?
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
come to believe that creating is it's like a form of meditation and it's very connected to our mental, emotional, spiritual health and well-being.
Hmm. Yeah.
It tells a lot about us as we create. What we're creating tells a lot about what's going on inside of us at the time that we're doing that creating.
Yeah.
So it can be very healing.
It is methodical. And it's a forward thinking. We don't know what tomorrow holds, but it's that curiosity that get us to the next day to see what's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So tell us a little bit about how community plays into your creative journey.
I can think of what I'm learning the new creativity of community today versus how it was in the future. I mean, the past. I mean, we had a community where no one had an issue with chastising or having a thought to say something to your kid when they were wrong. And so much came out of that where you realize when you say before you got in trouble, you let me let me get up right, let me do the right thing. And it was more of fun. It was more of gathering together, community, working on the same thing, building. And now it's like finding those communities that does that, giving that helping hand, lending that that father figure, lending that mother figure to be able to build and pull out what these kids need today, or just what anyone needs today to just continue to go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's either finding it or it's building it, one of the two.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I've
And
always said, if you can't find what you're looking for, build it.
Absolutely.
I think that you were uniquely positioned coming from such a large family to draw on tools that may come a little harder to people who weren't as fortunate.
Hmm. I believe that. I think back at just when you say you look at what your parents did do for you, and I'm grateful because I know that there are situations where even then parents didn't have some of those things to give to their kids. And to see that my father did everything he could to make sure we did, I'm very appreciative of that. I'm very appreciative. Yeah,
They were special souls for sure, weren't they?
absolutely. And so that's why when I talk to people and I share, I have no problem sharing them what my experiences was with my parents because I know you never know who it may help. And it takes that conversation, that one conversation to help someone get through that day. We never know what a person will wake up in their mind to the thought. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. So, what experience? I mean, I know you've only been in your big creative mode for about a year and a half, you said, but what have there been any kind of collaborations or anything where you have worked with another artist or anything like that?
I have. I am now, I guess, currently working with another artist to collaborate on bringing wood into my art and different types of forms to be able to do that. But it's the learning curve that I am in. It's a learning, and I'm okay with learning. But it's learning to be able to evolve just other things around just what you have. And you don't know who it may touch. Me creating something different may give the view of someone else like, I didn't know that. I didn't see that. But I think that collaborating is good. You know, two minds come with something, very different, very unique, touching. Yeah.
I think it can be an integral part of our journey, and yet we find in most of our conversations there's a lot of isolation in the creative community.
Hmm.
People work in isolation
That's true.
and they don't really have much community around them. Um, so how did you come by this collaboration? How did that manifest?
I think it was someone who saw my work and saw how detailed that I am in my work. And it's more of just expression. It's shaping art. Um, it's a vision. It's a story. And I believe in telling a story, through art. And they ask, have I thought about, expanding on what you have, not just staying in a box, not staying in that frame. And that was a good thought, like, oh yeah, let me expand out of my frame and see what happens. And yeah, it took on
Brandy, what scale is your art right now mostly? Is it smaller pieces or is it really large
large,
pieces?
large pieces. Yeah,
And so
like 36 by
incorporating,
36. Yeah,
okay. So incorporating wood in that could make it really, really heavy really fast.
it can make you happy, but it also can tell a story. I mean,
Yes.
we see the ages of the woods, the bark, you know.
Well, and beyond just what could be found wood, you also could cut and create
Yes,
three-dimensional
pieces.
things that
Yeah,
um, Yeah, there's some cool tools out there for now. I've been
Yeah.
looking at a I think it's called a Hoxo, Hoxo. No, I'm not sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, but it's a handheld tool. It won't cut big tree limbs or anything like that, but it'll cut balsa wood and the lighter forms of wood where you can literally just carve things and make whatever you want and then put holes in it and weave it into your art with your yarn. I mean,
Yeah.
the sky is the limit, isn't it?
Stack it up. Yeah, you can stack it up. It's 3D. Most of my art now is 3D, and I love it. I love that you can come and touch it, you can feel it, you see it.
Now,
Yeah.
you said 36 by 36. Do you do this and weave it into a canvas or is it mounted on board or what?
It's meted on the frame. I have the frame made, and I met it on the frame.
S- So is the surface when you say matted, is it a solid like a canvas, or do you
Yes.
have individual threads running across like a web that's around that
No, it's a thin piece of wood. It's a thin piece of wood, so it's
cradle
not heavy.
board? Got
Yes,
it.
cradle board. That way it helps on the size and the weight of it.
I love it. I love cradle
Mhm.
board. Oh my God, I
Yeah.
love cradle board.
Yeah. And you can build a frame, even if it's damaged a little bit, that gives character. And then
Yeah.
even depending on how the frame is, that helps me create an idea. So if I have something rugged at the end, then make that more power of my art. Yeah, make it strong.
I bet you could also rummage around in garage sales and places and buy old frames
Yeah,
and put a backing behind it. So many options.
yeah. And I spray paint it. I spray paint it to meet my what my design is. I can just spray paint one half of it and it'd be something different, you know.
I love that. You're highly creative. You got a lot of ideas and you're fearless, girl. You'll just try anything, won't you?
That's because, yes, I will. That's because I'm in the siblings. I told you there's so many characteristics in the head, so you can come up with a lot of things. Come up with a lot of things.
With one of the things that I'm kind of hearing a theme come out in your conversation, and it is play.
Mhm.
You make your work. That's what I'm sensing,
Fun.
that you just play.
Yeah, I do.
I think sometimes we get so serious about our art. Um, and there's a lot of things that show up there. We're comparing our art to other people's art, and we're operating from a place of, gee, am I good enough? Is my work good enough? And this builds in kind of this fear to this pressure and to perform
Hmm.
and are we going to be criticized so we feel unsafe? And it kills all the fun,
Yes.
kills the play, and then we feel blocked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you
I love
stay in
color.
that? How do you stay in that play and not get sucked into the varying different things that could take it to a serious place where it would be less fun? How do you manage that?
I think because I use a lot of color. I love color. And in well, pretty much all of my art is color, whether it's red, fuchsia, purple, black, green, loud yellow.
I love
I
color.
love color. And what it was color, it's fun. My mother used to say, when people feel blue, wear colors, wear other colors. So when people feel down, you enlighten them with color. When you're buying a home, they say, oh, it's dull white, it's no feel, it's not feeling like home. You add a little color, like, oh, it pops. Just because you put a
Yeah.
little gray in there, or you
Yeah.
put a little blue in there, it pops now. Yeah.
Our house is very colorful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to roll back a little bit when Maddox, when you were talking about how play is what came to mind. I'm reminded of the seven levers of creativity that are in Never Play It Safe. Play is one of them. It's a big one, and it made me reflect on a lot of the other things that you've shared that kind of speak to the others that are in there. So one of them that's a big one is time, and uh, I think time is relevant because you've been at this for a relatively short time in the grand scheme of your life, right? It's the last year and a half you've been active in this, but you've also had to bring them all to the table. You've This is where you've focused your attention. You've used intuition to try to weave in, different things that you might try, and
Hmm.
trusting your gut to go different directions, and it's all just been a practice. And I think one thing that I think is not really getting a lot of attention is, even though we might have hinted at it, failure is one of those things too, and
Hmm.
it can be the best teacher. What are some moments where you've had to take the hard lesson?
Yeah, and when you say that, I can relate that to time. And you said timing is everything. I relate failure with time. Just because you come out with a piece doesn't mean that's right for that time.
Yeah.
And someone might say that it's not timing. And then 2 weeks later, you take it at another event on good timing, and someone love it. And when you say failure, like I said, my father always told me, that's just somebody else's yes. So that what gets me to keep pushing because that's just somebody else's yes. But yeah, that's somebody else's yes.
I love that framing. I love how you have such a positive frame around how you approach everything.
Yeah, you really have I don't even know what word I'm trying to come up with. It's like there's a stability that you just have put some things in place in your life that you don't let the turkeys get you down, as the saying goes.
Yes,
I can tell you talk with a conviction that lets me know that you're a person who gets up every morning and you decide what your day's going to be like.
I do.
I mean, I just sense that from you. I'm an empath and I really sense that. So, Brandy, is art full time for you?
No. Unfortunately, no. My full time is IT. And I think that's because, again, that's a creative side of me. Just want to know why something doesn't work. Building code, understanding that code, that's still art. What does it form? What's the result of it? Yeah,
Do you enjoy that?
I do.
Hmm.
I do. Building something and seeing the result of it, seeing it work, seeing it functions. Yeah, I do like it.
We have not had very many guests that did the creative thing and a full-time job and loved both, but we have had a few. And I think that I mean, I believe this. Because of the way schools work, your answer is either right or wrong,
Hmm.
when we get tested. And I think we're conditioned from a very early age to it's an either or. And what I've learned in my life is that's bullshit. It's an and.
Yeah.
It's only an either or if you choose it to be an either or. It's an and. You're
Absolutely.
an and.
Hmm.
You love your art and you love your job. It's an and. And when we think like that, we can change our experience and have more ands. You're I
Absolutely.
you know, I Dwight has a better grasp of this because he's got a memory like a steel trap, but
An
um
elephant.
I can, yeah, an elephant. I can think of at least two other guests that talked about, loving their job and wouldn't give up their job to go full time with their art. And not because of the money or the security, but one gentleman said, I made the decision that I could have more than one passion.
Hmm.
I have a passion for my job. He works for Microsoft.
Well, and for our listeners, that would be episode number 25 featuring Tony Hale.
Tony
Yeah.
Hale the third.
Yeah, Tony Hale the third, because there's another
See,
Tony Hale, not
he's
the guy
got
on
yeah,
Veep.
he's got the numbers of all these episodes memorized. Thank God he does, because I sure shit don't. But yes, and then there was another one that said, I love my job, and he's in a financial world because it makes me appreciate the time that I get to be creative even more. If I didn't have a job and I could be creative all the time, I wouldn't appreciate it as much.
And
So that when I'm at my job, I'm like thinking, oh my God, I'm so excited to go be creative. And I thought that was such a wonderful, okay, episode.
37 featuring Curtis Trant.
Yes, I thought that was such a wonderful way to look at it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, it's all the frame. Well, I mean, we have a choice. There are things that are in our control. And I've seen a lot of people I've worked with, they're really stuck when they always say, I'll be happy when. And I asked them, well, what's it going to take for you to not waste so much energy and make that a little shorter? Just say, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Or I'm happy now because
Hmm.
I choose to be happy now because or
Yeah.
whatever. So Brandy, is there a family? Do you have a maid and children or
I don't. One day, wishful thinking from your mouth to God's ears.
well, and as we said, timing is everything. So maybe right
Absolutely.
now your time is doing exactly what you're doing.
Absolutely.
When
And I
you're
make the best of it.
when you're ready, that person will show up.
Absolutely.
I've lived that in my own life.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that.
I wish that I had known that at an earlier age, so I would have been more patient.
Yeah.
I was really impatient for a long time, and I tried to force lots of square pegs into round holes.
Yeah. And it
It
don't
didn't,
work.
it does not work, and it's painful, just like you would expect. It's painful.
Well,
But
you're
it's
reminding
that
me.
journey. Huh?
It is. I'm reminded as Maddox is sharing that pain of how I've seen in so many traditions that we're taught patience. We're taught to have that sense of being okay with what is, not to time travel too much and be too worried about what's going to happen in the future because everything is happening right on time. And
Hmm.
I too have had those experiences where, as an impatient youth, I just wanted so badly to get past what I thought was such a rough patch.
Hmm.
I mean, I remember having a rather uncomfortable conversation with a chaplain when I was enlisted. I was in the Army during Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And we both couldn't actually talk about what I was talking about.
Hmm.
And uh, it was kind of a slap in the face, but also exactly what I needed to hear when this really cool motorcycle chaplain said something to the effect of, "Oh, this too shall pass." It may seem really big right now, but just just let it go. It'll be fine. He was absolutely right, but in that moment, I was so frustrated.
Yeah.
You know,
And
my,
and the thing about it is sitting in that moment because I feel like if you don't sit in that moment, you won't learn that lesson. And it's going to
Yes.
come back a full circle until you
well,
learn that moment.
if you sit in it, maybe it's just a moment. If you don't sit in it, it can be a lifetime.
Absolutely.
My mom, all of my life, said, "This too shall pass," and I always found such comfort in that
Hmm. Yeah.
because it didn't take very long after she'd said it a few times that I looked back and saw that yes, indeed, it always did pass. If you just, held on, it passed.
Yep.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm totally cool with it now, but I remember that feeling of just being so in it and so frustrated.
Yeah. One of my uh, mentors said to me once, I was like, I so ecstatic about one of my pieces. And I was looking at it, I was like, oh, I know it's something else could be right. I said, you know what? I stress myself out. And normally what I do is I send my art to a few people that's in the circle and get their opinion, like, okay, what you think? Because am I overthinking this? And I gotten to the point where it was affecting me when I say what that was not saying that it shouldn't or that I should listen because you want that advice, you want that critical, the I guess opinion about it. And someone said, "Oh, you should take this off." It pinpoint. It was always something. Oh, take this off, take it off. And my mentor said to me, art is not perfect. So you
No.
have to allow yourself to love where you are because it's not perfect.
Yes.
And it's
And make
subjective.
sure that corner is cut right. It's not perfect.
Yeah. You know what you're describing, asking a circle of people to give you feedback. That's a form of collaboration. That's
Mm-hmm.
community. You
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't ask them if you didn't trust them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you
And
also have
it's
to realize that it's not perfect.
yes, and
Yeah.
not trust them to give you good feedback,
Yeah.
but trust them to give you honest feedback. Trust them
Mm-hmm.
to be kind and not,
Mm-hmm.
haters or,
Yeah. That part.
unnecessarily judgmental or critical.
Yeah.
That's definitely a form of community. I love that.
Hmm.
I think we would all benefit from that. I most of my interaction with art in community right now is I'm in several online groups where we post our images and we give feedback, or somebody will say, I'm having this problem. I can't figure out how to do this. And if I know how to do it, I'll chime in and say, well, I'm not saying it's the way, I'm saying it's what I learned. The other day somebody said, "Can I do this on this and this?" And she was talking about mixing mediums and was it going to
Hmm.
be, were they going to play well together? And I was like, I don't know. So I went in and I did a test. I created this whole little, you know, and did a test and then went back online and said, well, I just did a test and here's what I learned. And it was so fun to do that and share
Yeah.
that with other people.
Hmm. And the value in that, because I'm pretty sure they took something back from it, your takeaway.
There was one person that said, thank you so much for this.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a bunch of likes, but there
Yeah.
was one person that really showed appreciation, like I had just solved a problem for them. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, when we can rely on people around us, everything gets better. Not
Yeah.
just our creativity, not just our art, our
Hmm.
life.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and it's all about showing up. I love the way that you were talking about how you got into places because you knocked on doors, you made the phone calls,
Yeah.
and you took the message that the no doesn't mean never. It's just not right now.
It was somebody else's yes.
Yes, somebody else's yes. I love that. I love
So
that.
I love clarifying for the benefit of the listener. So you got in a gallery and you called around and talked to different galleries. Did you know any of those gallery owners, or was this a cold call?
Cold call. Didn't know any of them.
Oh, good for you.
And then, but of course,
Wow.
some of them, some of them want you to send some of your art to make sure that you're not just joking around or you got something worth valuing or looking at or speaking on a conversation piece. And yeah, didn't know
I really admire your courage.
them.
Well, it's next level. A lot of people are wounded very easily at the slightest hint of
Yeah,
rejection.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, I want your take on something because this is a conversation that we kind of have, and we all see things a little bit differently. But do you believe that it's more important to put your art out there, or do you believe it's more important to put yourself out there, or do you think that it's really a combination thereof, and why?
I think it's a combination of both. I think, like now, even doing this interview, these things are new to me when it comes to art. But I think it's the passion within doing the homework yourself speaks to that fear of no or anything like that. So I think it's a combination of both. Just putting your work out there is important as well because if you don't, who's going to see it? Anybody can speak to it. You have a lot of people that are visual. You got a lot of people that you can just tell them and they can think about it and say, "Oh, I get what you're saying." But there's a lot of people that's visual to see. Okay, you're telling me that this is mixed media, but what is it? But when they see it, they can feel it. Oh, they got your art. Like how I do my art, someone can say, "Oh, that's Brandy's art," because it's the process of what I put in to do it. But if I can't speak to it, then how would somebody know? So I think it's a combination of both.
Is one easier or harder than the other?
I believe so, because I think putting my art out there, that's just someone else passing it, that's streaming it, someone sending it out. But when you come and speak to your art, it's that level of comfort are the uncomfortableness of being outspoken, being able to talk about the things that you're building, creating, designing. So, and I think it helps build your character, take off the edge.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Mhm.
You know, I think that there are, I mean, we're all looking for art collectors, right? If we're creating, we're looking for art collectors. And I think
Absolutely.
there is a percentage of art collectors that they see art, they go, oh my God, I love that, and they buy it. And they
Hmm.
don't care about the artist.
Yeah.
And then I think there are some that they might see art and cool art here and there, but if they don't get to meet the artist and really know the process, they won't buy
Hmm.
the art.
Yeah.
And then I think
Well,
there's people that may do both. I'm a person who does both. I bought art just for the art, didn't really care about the artist. It just spoke to me so deeply that I had to have that. And then there's others that I have purchased because there was this deep meaning in the artist's life behind it, and knowing that story um, just it meant a lot. It meant a
Yeah.
lot. Um,
there's a lot there, and I've started reading a book called Your Brain on Art: How the Arts Transform Us, and it gets into a little bit of how we learn and how we better encode things. And art and creativity of any form has a way of being able to make things have more meaning and be stickier. And I believe when it comes to that question of uh, do we just buy the art, or do we need to have some connection to the story? I think that every layer that you can add, and every way that you can experience it, and Brandy, your pieces have additional things for us to latch onto, because there's, I mean, it's something that you can touch, so it engages another sense that a lot of pieces that we see, we're always told don't touch the art.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's such rich information in it, because you have the contrast of the textures being hard and soft, and you're able to latch onto something that's other dimensions that others don't have, and being able to have a form like this where you can share your story, that
Mm-hmm.
helps to weave a narrative that's attached to those pieces as well.
And it helps tell the story of your
Yes.
art. Yeah.
I think so too. And you know, if there's people that buy because it's beautiful and people that buy because they know your story behind it, let's just say that's 50-50. If you choose one, you leave 50% on the table. You're leaving money on the table. If you choose the other one, you're
Yeah.
leaving 50% on the table. It makes sense to put your art out there and yourself out there.
Hmm.
So,
Absolutely.
well, and that sounds largely what you're doing.
Yeah, I am. And that's networking. And I always say I step out of my comfort zone to do things that I normally wouldn't do because it helps out in the long run. When you network in a uncomfortable environment, you don't know who's in that environment. You don't know who they're connected to. So if I pass a card to someone about my artwork, they might have a cousin, a boss, or someone that they know that's connected to art, who loves art.
You never know when you're only one connection away from
Absolutely.
that big collector that is going to fall in love with what you got going on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Brandy, do you have, through your experience, and not just in creativity, because you do other things and you've been doing life a lot longer than you've been doing this last year and a half of
Yes.
art. What words of wisdom would you like to share with our listeners? Anything you'd like to share that you've learned that we haven't already covered?
Persistence. I think is very vital to understanding yourself and active service. I like making the next person happy, joyful, sharing something that, we don't, like I said, we don't know what the next person is going through. So if there's anything that I can say, give, or build for the next person and it helps them, I'll be willing to do it.
This
So
is
yeah.
something else the world has kind of lost sight of. And this is
Hmm.
big. I'm like you, Brandy. I'm a very acts of service person.
Hmm.
I was born with a servant's heart. I didn't learn
Yeah,
that language for it until I was much older, but I came into the world with a servant's heart. When I was a child,
absolutely.
my mom would say, she'd shake her head and say, "Oh my God, you care so much."
Hmm.
She didn't understand. She saw it, she could see it, but she didn't really understand.
You know how when I know this is political, some in a sense when people say racism is not exist, it's not. You're not born it. It's taught. So when you see something out there with, like I said, act of kindness, you just do. And when we growing up, that's all we saw with my parents. We can be traveling because as you know, like I said, it's 15 of us. We weren't all at the house at the same time, but if you have siblings that was in college where the other ones are in, junior school or, grade school, my dad had to travel to go make sure they were okay with their cars or whatever they need while they was in college. And while we're going on the weekends to visit them, if my father saw somebody, him being a mechanic, if he saw somebody on the side of the road, no matter what it is, he's stopping. So you see that. So kindness is taught.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
My dad was a lot like that too. We stopped a few times. I can
Hmm.
remember as a child, we were on a road trip and we came across a big, big buck, a deer that was hung up in a barbed wire fence. And he had laid there and thrashed back and forth until he'd completely scraped the ground clean with his horns thrashing back and forth, trying to get free. No telling how long he had been there.
Hmm.
My dad, we pulled over and he got out, he got in the trunk and got out some tools and he went and worked until he finally cut that buck free.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm a little kid who loved animals, and I'm screaming, "Can we take him home? Can we take him home?" But I've
That's
never
kindness.
forgotten that, you know. And
Kindness.
that buck, when that buck got free, he darted off into the distance, and right as he got to the edge of the woods, he stopped and he looked back and he just stared at my dad for a moment, and then he went on into the woods. It
Mhm.
felt like he was looking back and saying,
Thanking
"Thank
him.
you."
Hmm.
Yes. I've never forgotten it.
Yeah. Like I said, kindness is taught.
It is taught. Well, and its opposite is taught. It's modeled a lot
Hmm.
more these days. And
Absolutely.
I see that in the world, people have been they've been taught to become more transactional.
Hmm.
And I think that sows the seeds for a great deal of suspicion. And it makes it so that people confront, when they're confronted with kindness, they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Well,
They're almost
Throws,
afraid.
too, with everything that's going on in our world right now, I mean, I don't, every day I get anywhere from a dozen to 2 dozen scam emails, phone calls, text messages. You
Hmm.
know, when somebody shows up now with kindness, we're a little,
Yeah.
is this real? We're a little suspicious because we've been hit so hard in the last few years with people that just want to take advantage of us.
Hmm.
Wish it wasn't so, but it is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Randy,
And
this
that's
has
why I
been,
say art is, you got to think art, put art in everything. Yeah.
yes, yes,
yes.
because it heals. It
It does.
does. It can. I've said for some time now that I believe that creatives are the people who have the power to heal humanity, to guide
Mhm.
humanity to healing.
And bringing them together. Unity.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes.
Mhm.
Unity and collaboration and yes,
Absolutely.
D, all of the above. This has been amazing.
Thank you. Yes, it has.
Really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks so much for all you brought to our listeners.
Thank you.
I just want to acknowledge you for what a great head you have on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And your, your mom and dad for all they gave to you and your siblings. What a gift.
Thank you.
Like, no, we don't all get that, you know?
That's true.
Yeah. Beautiful.